Good morning, Berwick School. What are we going to do today? Learn, enjoy, succeed. Welcome to assembly. It is Thursday, the 16th of July, which means that it is very nearly the summer holidays. We've got tomorrow left at school and just tomorrow morning, and then we're off for the summer. So what are we going to do today? We are going to start with a quiz, of course. Here we go. Question 1. How many events are there in a triathlon, and which events are typically included? Question 2. Arachnophobia is a fear of what? Question 3. Who won Britain's Got Talent in 2019, so last year? Question 4. What is the capital city of Spain? And question 5. What is the force that keeps planets in orbit around the sun? Well, I think that's quite a tricky quiz today, so good luck with that. Answers at the end. Right, so nearly the summer holidays. So what do we always do just before the summer holidays? We always talk about how to keep safe in the summer when you're at home with your families and not in school with us. So the first thing to mention is sun safety, protecting yourselves from hopefully all the lovely sunshine and great weather that we're going to have. So it's really important that you wear a hat to keep the sun off your face, that you use sunglasses, that you wear some protective clothing so that the sun can't get onto your skin, that you avoid going out in the hottest part of the day, so between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock, or if you do, you make sure that you're in the shade and avoid direct sunlight, that you put on some sunscreen, and that you drink lots of water. So that's your sun safety lesson for the holidays. Now, moving on, the other thing we always talk about is what you would do if you were out somewhere really busy and you got lost. And so lots of things have reopened. Legoland's reopened, the zoos have reopened, the parks have reopened. So it might be that you are out and about over the summer. So you need Mrs. Donnelly's top tips for keeping safe. Here we go. So number 1, make sure that you know your name. Check. But also remember that you need to know the name of the adult who you're out with that day. And remember, we talk about this every year. If you're standing somewhere really busy and you shout, Mum, or Dad, or Nanny, that isn't actually very helpful because everybody in that place is probably called Mum or Dad or Nanny. So you need to know the name of that person and shout their name because they're much more likely to listen if you do that. Number 2. Your phone number. So this is written for the parents. So what this means is that you should know the number of the person who you're out with. And don't worry if you can't memorise it, because you could pop it in on a slip of paper and put it in your pocket. You could write it somewhere where you're not going to get washed. So I just used to write it on my children's arm in biro. You can get special wristbands and things with it on. And then have a think, why would it be useful to have that phone number? What would you do with it? Well, what you would need to do with it is, if you weren't sure, and we'll come on to this, if you had lost the adult who was in charge of you that day, you could go up to somebody who you trust, and we'll talk about who that might be in a minute. You would go up to somebody who you would trust and you would say, I can't find the adult that I was with, could you please phone this number? That's why that's a really helpful thing to have. Alright, so this one wasn't on the poster that I found, but this is one that we always talk about in assembly, isn't it? So I've popped this in here. My top tip is that if you're going somewhere that's going to be really, really busy, when you arrive, get the adult that's with you to take a photograph on their phone of you and your brothers and sisters or whoever, whichever other children you're with that day, because then if they can't find you, then they're going to be able to say to everybody, look at this picture, I'm looking for this child and they look like this, they're wearing an orange t-shirt or whatever, and then it's much easier for everybody to help to look for you. Okay, so really good tip. And then you don't need to keep that photograph. Once you've got home that day, you can delete it, but it's really helpful for the day that you're out. Next tips. Decide on a meeting spot. So if you go somewhere that's going to be really busy, and particularly if you're allowed a little bit of freedom to go off by yourselves, make sure that you've agreed on somewhere that you will come back to meet up. And stay put. So we talk about this. This is even, I tell you where children like to get lost is the supermarket, because they tend to wander off to go and have a look at things, and then they turn around and the the adult they were with is busy looking at the shopping that they're trying to do, and before you know who you are, you can't see each other. Now, the temptation is to run around looking for each other, but actually if that happens, you could be running around over here and the adult can be running around over there, and you never meet up with each other. So the child should always stay still and let the adult go and do the looking. And you need to stand still for what will feel like a really long time, because it will feel like longer than it actually is. And you just stand really, really still and wait, and your adult almost every time will come back and find you. But if they don't come back and find you, here's what you do next. Okay, so you've stood still for ages and you really can't find your grown-up. They haven't come to find you. So now you have to think about, what are we going to do next? So we're going to talk about this one. This one says, find a mum. But actually, what you're looking for is an adult who you think would be able to help you and you could trust to help to keep you safe. And the best way of choosing that is, if Taylor was here, he would tell me, what would you say, Taylor? Ask a policeman. Of course you would ask a policeman, but most of the time there isn't a policeman. So if there isn't a policeman around, the next thing to try is somebody who works in the place that you're in. And you would know that they work there because they would be behind the counter or because they would be wearing a special uniform. And if you can't find anybody that works there, the next best thing to try is an adult who's already got children with them. Because if they've already got children with them, then you can be pretty sure that they're really good at looking after children and they would help you to find your grown-up. And so if you go and ask that person and you've got your phone number ready, then you just say, here's the phone number, would you mind helping me in calling my adult? And then they will phone and you can be reunited. So that works nearly every time. Now the very last thing to say, this is always Maddie's top tip actually, is that it is okay to yell. So if you really don't think that you are super lost and you can't find a grown-up to ask, you can make loads of noise, because then your adult will hear you and come and find you. The other time that you might need to make loads of noise is if that somebody comes along who isn't your grown-up and tries to take you away with them, and you don't think that that person is a safe stranger. Now this hardly ever happens, but it's good to be prepared just in case. So if somebody came along and tried to take you and you didn't want to go, then it is okay to make as much fuss and wave your arms and kick your legs as you possibly can. So that's always okay in that situation. So let me know if you do get lost for over the summer. It's probably only going to be for a couple of minutes, but let me know whether any of these things have helped. Let's revise them very quickly. So make sure you know the name of the grown-up who you're with, and the first thing to do is to call their name. Second thing, make sure you've always got their phone number with you. Third thing, get them to take a photograph of you, so when they're looking for you, they can show everybody what you look like. Make sure that you've thought about somewhere where you can go back and meet, so that if you are lost, you go back to that spot and wait for them there. Stay still for as long as you can, and then if you really think that you need to move to find somebody, go and find somebody with children first, and in all else fails, you can make loads and loads of noise. And by the time you've done all of that, I'm sure you will be reunited. Right, one last bit of safety advice for you is to do with water. So we're really lucky living around here because we've got loads of water. We've got lakes and rivers, and you might be lucky enough to go to the beach for the day. And those are fantastic places to go, particularly at the moment where we have to be out in the open lots and away from other people. But they can also be really dangerous. So just want to give you some really good water safety advice. So have a look at this. If you jump into cold water, and it would be cold even on a really hot day, if you jumped into a river or a lake or something like that, you might get cold water shock. And this is what happens. You gasp for air. You could breathe in water. Even on a warm day, the temperature of the water in a reservoir, quarry or lake can remain very cold. You hyperventilate. This overbreathing can make you lightheaded, and as your brain is deprived of oxygen, you may become disorientated. Cold shock response speeds up the heart rate, which can conflict with the diving response, which slows the heart rate, and your heart can go into an abnormal rhythm, and then your muscles can become weaker and your body will shiver. So even if you're somewhere where you can see other people jumping into water, please don't follow them, because it is often a really unsafe thing to do. And I would just like to show you a little video to drive home that point for you. The man that you're about to see works for the ambulance service in this area around here, and he's going to talk to you about an incident that happened on the Jubilee River, which is really close to all of our houses where we live, and probably some of you go there on your bikes and to walk your dogs and things. Now this video is from a couple of years ago, and he's talking about a really nasty incident that happened then, but actually already this summer there have been a couple of nasty incidents in the same area and on the river along by us. So that's why it's really important that we're just aware of how to keep safe by the water. Have a listen to what he's got to say. Keep safe by the water. Have a listen to what he's got to say.
I was called to an incident here on the Jubilee River in August 2015 for a group of young men in their late teens and early 20s who'd been having a picnic at the side of the river, decided to cool off by jumping into the river. They managed a couple of jumps and got out unscathed. Unfortunately, on the third or fourth jump off of the bridge and into the river, one gentleman got tangled up in the weeds at the bottom, and his friends called for the fire and ambulance services because he failed to surface. So even on a hot day, you need to be careful around deep water. I'd suggest that you only go into water where you can clearly see the bottom. Be aware of any dangers that could be hidden out of sight, such as weeds, debris and other litter. Unfortunately, the gentleman who jumped off the bridge and into this river failed to surface. We were on scene here with the fire and police services for a couple of hours searching for him. Unfortunately, he wasn't found until the next day by the police diving team, who had to recover his body. So some of the dangers of jumping into deep water and cold water is the body's reaction to jumping into cold water. The first initial reaction is to take a deep breath in. This can often lead to fresh water, or in the cases of seawater, going into the lungs. The other issue is that your body reacts to cold water by reducing blood flow to your periphery, so your arms and legs, in order to divert blood to the vital organs to keep them warm. And this causes issues with you trying to tread water or swim, because with reduced blood flow, your ability to swim and use your arms and legs is greatly reduced.
So, really important just to think about those things that we've talked about there to keep you safe while you're out and about in the summer. Keep out of the daily sunshine and make sure that you're covering up and wearing sunscreen. Make sure that you know what to do if you get lost, and be really, really careful around the water. But I'm sure that you're going to have a fantastic summer with loads and loads of fun and exciting activities going on. So as long as you know how to keep safe, everything will be fine. Right, we're going to end on a really happy note today. Some of you might remember Miss White, who did her teaching placement with us last year, and she went on to teach in a special school, and she's been making videos for her children at the special school, like we've been making videos for you guys, and she's been teaching them some Makaton. So she sent us one of the videos that we would really like to share with you. Here it is.
Hello everyone, Early Years and Key Stage 1 at Kennel Lane School want to share some of our favourite story songs with our learners and their families. This week we're bringing you If You're Happy and You Know It. Hope you enjoy!
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, stamp your feet. If you're happy and you know it, turn around. If you're happy and you know it, turn around. your arms. If you're happy and you know it, stretch your arms. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, stretch your arms. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, pat your head. If you're happy and you know it, touch your nose. If you're happy and you know it, touch your nose. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, touch your nose. If you're happy and you know it, point your toes. If you're happy and you know it, point your toes. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, point your toes. If you're happy and you know it, shout hello. Hello. If you're happy and you know it, shout hello. Hello. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it. If you're happy and you know it, shout hello. Hello. Say hello. Hello. Konnichiwa. Bonjour. Bonjour. Riviere. Ni hao. Calimera. Jumbo. Salam, buongiorno, hola, vanga, sabor, merhaba. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy
And also, Sycamore 1 have really taken on this Makaton challenge. They wanted to do a video for you in assembly, but they have been very clever because they have learnt their own song in Makaton, a different one to the ones that we have been learning in assembly. So they are going to perform it for you now, and you can see if you can join in.
I see trees of green, where roses bloom, I see the blue, for you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, brightness of day, darks of the night, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying how do you do. They say I love you. I think it's right. I want to cry. Very much more than I know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
And finally today, let's give you some answers to the tricky quiz. Question 1, how many events in a triathlon and which events are typically included? Well, what does tri mean? It'd be the same in triangle and tricycle. What's the tri? So tri is 3, so you're looking for 3 events, and it tends to be swimming, cycling and running. Well done if you got that one right. Number 2, arachnophobia is the fear of what? It's the fear of spiders, but we don't have that here because 1/3 of our children are spiders. Number 3, who won Britain's Got Talent in 2019? Spellbound. Number 4, what's the capital of Spain? It is Madrid. How many of you said Barcelona? And number 5, what is the force that keeps planets in orbit around the sun? It's the same force that means that we stick to the ground and don't go floating around all over the place. Does that give you a clue? It is, of course, gravity. Well, that is it for today. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm sure I'll see you around, and last assembly of the year tomorrow.